Welcome, everyone, to another inspiring episode of Amazing You podcast and YouTube channel, the space where stories of resilience, purpose, and hope come to life. And here we share powerful stories that remind us that even in the challenging moments, there is a path to hope and triumph. I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a Mars Venus life and relationship coach, breathwork coach, astrologer, tarot reader, past life regression practitioner, and energy practitioner. And today, I am very thrilled to introduce you to a truly exceptional guest from the UK. Her name is Veronika Sucha. Veronika is a business coach for female entrepreneurs. Veronika is also an award-winning coach who supports purpose-driven founders and visionary entrepreneurs as they step into their next level of growth. And after 2 decades of leading high-profile business events, Veronika transitioned into coaching in 2020 and has since helped visionary leaders build sustainable momentum while staying aligned with their mission. Her blend of strategic clarity, empathy, and intuitive insight makes her a truly transformating guide for founders navigating pressure and expansion. So get ready, everybody, for an inspiring conversation that speaks to resilience, purpose, and the human side of entrepreneurship. I am very excited for this conversation with you, Veronika. So let's welcome the incredible Veronika to Amazing You podcast.
Hi, Rani and everyone. Thank you so much for having me and for such a wonderful introduction.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much for taking your time, Veronika, to come and speak to the audience and to share your knowledge and to inspire us. Veronika, I am blown away by your story because you've transitioned from a career of 20 years leading teams and large-scale business events, and you move into coaching. So can you tell us briefly about your journey, your story?
Yes, sure. Yeah, pleasure. So I'll just quickly say that usually people ask about my accent. So I come originally from the Czech Republic, and my hometown is Prague, that probably many people will be familiar with. And I've been in the UK for 20 years. And as you said, I've had a long and really wonderful career in events management and working on some really fantastic events in purpose-driven and mission-led sectors and non-for-profit organizations. And I always felt very recharged and nourished by my work for many, many, many years, and I loved it. Did not have a day where I would not want to come to work. I was more the one who didn't want to leave than didn't want to come. And I felt very much aligned, like that is the purpose, that is what I'm meant to be doing, and I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. And at some point, it started to not feel like that. I still loved what I was doing, and I still love events, and I still love events and what events can create and the meaning of events and everything. But at some point, it just felt it was not completely aligned with all parts of myself. It makes sense now, but it definitely did not make sense back then. And it was more a feeling that was getting kind of worse and worse in a way that actually the work stopped nourishing me, and actually I burned out. And then I was looking what I was gonna do next. So I started to kind of search, like, what is my next think, or what is my next thing that feels like purpose myself, because I think I'm a person who needs that. I think that is my way of being, that I thrive to do work that I just love doing. And I started exploring. I started exploring within myself, what are my strong sides, what are my talents, and how I can transition, or how I can move them into something that won't burn me out. Later, I also realized that was not the only thing of changing what I do, but it was also because what happens is, if we don't change what we carry within us, then we can move to different career, but we still carry our old selves. So I also had to like transition myself into different way of working and different way of approaching things, so then I can do things differently. Otherwise you carry kind of your old self into new environment, and as much as the new environment can help, your old self is still gonna hold you in your old behavioral patterns. So I transitioned to your question. I transitioned slowly,
Mhm.
because um, I am my own breadwinner, put it that way, and I still had to have a stable income as I navigate the transition myself into different career. So I started working. So I started working on early mornings and late evenings and weekends, and then I managed to go 4 days a week, 3 days a week, and transitioning slowly, like more and more. And as I was transitioning, also refining more what I do. As more you speak to clients and then see what they need and where they're at, it really helps to actually find your way. And this is one of the things that often I find in the business coaching as well, that often what um, clients or women or anyone I coach do is kind of trying to come up with the whole theory, or if the whole business plan before doing it, and kind of waiting before they go out and do it with this ready-made offer and ready-made everything, like I am there. But actually it all happens in the making. So the clarity comes from action rather than from our kind of closed environment within ourselves. So it comes with the action, it comes from interaction with others, and so that is how I've been transitioning as well, through getting the clarity as you work through the progress and through the growth.
Thank you so much, Veronika, for sharing that. That's wonderful to hear about your journey. And I while listening to you, I was I want to know, what was that defining moment for you that made you step into this new path? You were telling us that you were facing some burnout, but was there a defining moment that made you realize that enough is enough and I need to look for something else?
Yes, at some point that moment came. I can't particularly remember what exactly was that enough, but I think it was a collection of many things that suddenly overflow and you say, it's enough now, and I really need to do something about it. Sometimes it's like it's us. We have to create so many of these little push buttons that
Yes.
actually push us and take the action and kind of lit the fire to catalyze us to our next move. So I think collection, but then also my experience is that once you make a decision to move, to change, or to progress, or to take to your next level, once I think that decision is clear and aligned, things will start also happening. So once I was progressing with my transition, at some point also what happened is that I felt I could not really keep doing this sort of unlimited time, that there is as little I could grow, and I was ready to grow a little bit more into the business and into the coaching. And then what happened is that So in my case, that when it was the transition of the pandemic came, and actually there was quite a slowdown for events where things moved online, but in general it took a while. But in general, in-person events stopped. So I was actually leaving my job at that point.
Yeah.
So things aligned in the way that I suddenly had the space to do it. So it was. So I think it is a combination of our internal decision
Mm.
that is clear, and then the environment helps us at the same time.
Thank you for sharing that because I know there are so many people at this time listening to us who are at that point in their life, you know. So many people I talk to are not happy in their job, but they
Mm,
don't know how to transition, how to
mm.
move to another career or another thing that they love. What would you like to tell those people who are in that situation?
So I would really like to congratulate them all and
Mm.
acknowledge them all, because it is really amazing point to get into, although I know it can be frustrating in that moment, like any point of change or any point of transition or a point where we're growing outside of our comfort zone. And there is so much new with starting anything yours. There's a lot on mindset. There is a lot on overcoming any visibility. There's a lot on overcoming how you suddenly present yourself after 20 years being one person and people knowing you that way. Suddenly you decide you're somebody else. So there's a lot of doubts coming, who am I now to be this new person, and waiting for approval. So one thing I would advise is patience as
Mm.
well, patience with yourself, um, as much as support around you as well, because having that support network of like-minded people who are working on a similar intention, it helps not only with keeping you kind of in the same stream, but also it just helps to create that vortex that there's more of us working on the same thing, and then support as well from women are amazing in providing support each other. So I think support, patience, and also practical one. There is some there is discipline needed. There's a lot out there how easily things can happen, and they can, but there is a lot that goes into, this effort we need to make, but obviously doing it as enjoyable as you can, because understanding this maybe, or decision wise, it is a journey that you'll be taking for maybe another 10, 20, 30 years. Then you need to set up yourself in a way that can actually keep you going for 20, 30 years. So not do something that will burn you out in six
Mm.
months, because probably in 6 months' time you're going to progress, but you're not going to get there, so to speak. So, so being realistic as well with
Mm.
expectations of yourself, and being realistic of what is um, what is possible, while saying it, having that little window open for all the miracles that can happen at the same time, obviously.
That's so true. Yes, thank you so much. It's true that things don't happen overnight. It's taking those small steps, one step at a time, and being patient with ourselves where we are on that journey. That is really, really important. Yes. Thank you so much, Veronika.
Yeah, there's one little analogy that I had, because I
Yes.
kept asking this question. So I kept thinking, or I kept wanting,
Mm.
what is that thing? What is that trick? What is that thing somebody's going to tell me how to do it? And what is that thing I don't know that's going to, make the breakthrough? And the answer was that it doesn't work like that. The breakthrough come by culmination of all those little things you've made. So it's like a spider web. It doesn't just kind of become a spider web. It is going and building the pieces and pieces, and then obviously the more of them are there, they take momentum, and at some point the ball of the momentum is big enough to roll itself, but it takes a while until that momentum can take over. So it's more like building the spider web than finding a bullet point that's gonna, you know, make it all happen.
I think that's very, very through what you just said and this example that you give, this imagery of the spider web that you build slowly. That is because nowadays we want things fast.
Mm,
People do not have the patience to wait. But success is like one step at a time. And sometimes you don't succeed. You take a step back and you rethink your ideas and then you try again. It's about never giving up
mm-hmm.
and
Yes,
keeping moving forward. Yes, even if
yes,
sometimes we move one step back, but keep looking what is next, what can you do? Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
And you've shared so many interesting things, and I'm going to take one thing that you said, and I think it would help the audience to know because I found that very powerful. You talk about leaving the old self in that transition in order to be able to adapt, in order to adapt to that new version of who you become. So, what do you mean by leaving that old version of the old self for the
Mm-hmm.
audience to
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Mm-hmm. So there is quite a few things that fall into that bucket, I would say. So
Mhm.
one is definitely a change of a mindset. Um, because I remember, for example, it took me, I was many years, I had an idea to start something mine, first in travel or in events. And I always end up thinking, yeah, but I don't have the mindset. But in that moment, I didn't have the mindset to say, okay, what mindset do I need? I just stopped by, I don't have the mindset because I didn't have the mindset, if that makes sense. So one thing is definitely like we cannot do it with the same mindset. Like if there's no mindset to grow, mindset to find the solution. So that mindset or that belief saying, I am capable of doing it. I will do it, or there is a way, there's always a solution. And how do I do it? How do I ask for help? So, for example, asking for help. It's been one example why I also burned out because I did not ask for help, held by a lot of things that I have to do everything on my own, that maybe it's not right to ask for help, that I am meant to know everything. And with mindset like this, I'm not gonna get anywhere in business, right? You're gonna end up after 1 week if you if you never ask for help, if you never understand that this point of learning, that things are continuously changing, that you're not meant to have all the answers. So that's definitely one thing is navigating the mindset. And it's also our own patterns we have and beliefs and how we work. So um, one of the patterns that I find quite commonly with clients or entrepreneurs is overcomplicating things, overthinking things, which is not very helpful pattern. So let's say if we can change that into something that is like now, it's like, okay, I can look for simpler solutions. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's like a lightening approaches that these things straight away will help us shift. So it's difficult to move forward if, let's say, I believe that things are always going to be difficult, that business is difficult, then it's going to be really difficult for me to navigate that. So that's what I mean by carrying some of the beliefs as well, and some of the patterns we may have, like pattern of overworking. That's one, for example, a lot of people learn. We learn that in like corporate or other careers. That's how things work there, but it's not sustainable. Like we can't. So we have to unlearn that if we want to be successful long term. We have to unlearn and find different ways of doing things.
Thank you, Veronica. Wow, you've mentioned some really, really important points here. You've talked about mindset, having that growth mindset, and that is so important in everything that we do. And I remember the late Bob Proctor, he used to say, if you want to build something new, you have to make the old model obsolete. You have to break it down. then you can build something new out of it. Because you cannot bring that old mindset, those same patterns of not enough, I can't do it, to that new business. That's when you will feel stuck. Yes,
Exactly.
that is so, so true. And is there a technique that you would like to share with people in order to help them to have a growth mindset?
There's definitely there's so many techniques out
Mm,
there, so many
yes.
techniques. So there's no excuse not to, basically, because there is so much out there on this topic. But one thing is when, for example, when we find ourselves saying, I can't do it, or I don't know how to. I don't know how to. That's a very typical one. And you can see the person is stuck. So asking yourself, how can I? Instead of I don't know how to, or who can help me, or
Mm,
who would know. But this is one, how can I? It's really good one because it opens everything rather than I don't know how to.
that is so true. Yes, that's something simple, but it's a change in how we talk to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
because we've been trained, we've grown up with talking negative things to ourselves, but rephrasing our language can make a huge difference to our mindset and to how we do things as well, to our actions. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Another thing that you mentioned was about asking for help. You've noticed a lot of your women entrepreneurs, they find themselves in that kind of position and they don't ask for help, because this is a very much something that we learn in our childhood, but also incorporate. We want, as women, to show that we are able, we are
Mm,
capable. We want to show that in that masculine environment,
mm,
and asking for help is seen as a weakness in a lot of business environment.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. Mm,
So how can, because for women, asking for help, that makes them feel supported when they are able to ask for help. And that's when they can receive the support, but also be in their more feminine energy, be more peaceful. And that's when they become more creative.
mm-hmm. Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And I've seen that very, very much where I was like that too. I would never ask for help. But some organization, if you ask for help, they would shut you down because
Mm,
it's so competitive.
yeah, especially some industries or sectors, very
Yes.
much so. And then people build that kind of hard shell of
Mm-hmm.
like having to nearly protect themselves a lot
Yes.
and having to know everything. And it's really difficult to imagine how much pressure that creates. So yes, yeah, it is quite a vulnerable one in a way, isn't
Mm.
it? But
Yes.
it's beautiful when you know the theory about it, like when you know the theory that that people more talk about it, that it's okay. And once you ask, then and hopefully you ask the right people, which I think is
Mm.
an important, yeah, I think it's really an important really point because like think about who you ask for help because it is possible you ask people who are not used to that kind of environment, then they will reject your help or they will react not nicely, which will only kind of deepen that position of not asking for help. So maybe before you ask for help, just have a think about it, who you're asking, and don't ask people who you know are not gonna give you help.
That's a very, very valid point. It's like to be surrounded by people who will support you.
Exactly. That's
That's
what I meant. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Like the support network is so
mm,
important. Like surrounding yourself by the same, like, yes, people who see things differently, people who want support also. So yeah, so there's that kind of freedom of asking for support, offering support, much easier to navigate.
yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Veronika. And we are coming to a close, Veronika, towards the end of the podcast. And would you like to share with us what impactful books that you have encountered in your life? And can you tell us briefly why?
Quite a few books.
Okay.
Quite a few books. Also, yeah, like Bob Proctor, you've mentioned him as well.
Mm,
Let me think of the most recent. So one of the recent, or one of the book that has helped a lot with me and a lot helps clients that I work with as well, and helps with overwhelm and helps to
mm,
navigate the vast amount of everything that one has to do in the business. Is you learning marketing, you're learning
mm,
sales, then you learning obviously your craft, which could be coaching or hypnotherapy. You want to be improving. There's a lot going on, so
mm.
one has to be quite organized to be able to, move all the paths, to move the pieces over. And then there's a lot of overwhelming information of what you need to be doing in order for your business to succeed. And it's very easy to get sucked into everything. So one book I like is the called The One Thing, and it really helps to come back to your one thing. The question, like, if I can only do one thing that will make everything else easy or unnecessary, what would that be? And always asking that one question, to coming back to the most important thing. So we stay as close as possible to the kind of light that we're walking towards, and we're not doing everything just because many people said we should be doing that, but really finding what works for us, and really finding what our easiest thing is, what is most effortless for us, for our business, what is the path we want to take, and how to grow, and how to find the tools that work best for us. So that's one thing one thing, that's one thing, one book, one book, one thing that I find really helpful, and always very happy to recommend, because it helps to suddenly, when you read the book, I listen because I like audiobooks, but suddenly it makes that all the noise disappear at some point, and helps you just naturally kind of draw your energy into your focus and where you're going.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I highly recommend the readers to get the viewers to get a copy if you want to be able to focus more and to grow your business. And my before my final question, Veronica, where can our listeners and viewers find out more about your work and possibly connect with you?
So the best place would be my website, which is www.veronikasucha.com. And I think you're gonna post the page, so I'm not gonna spell it out. Where you can also join a newsletter, or you can see what the services are, what programs I run. Currently, I run an accountability program, which is at the moment one-to-one support, helping with actually following through. As often is the thing that we know what we need to do, but we just not able to follow through. So having an accountability partner, and giving founders or business owners time to have that CEO time and work, have that reflection time and accountability, and step away from the business. And then I put on the website new things. I'm planning a couple more new things going forward. So website is the best. And there's links on social media as well, for LinkedIn and Instagram. So I'd love to connect.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, as you said, it will appear below and also on your in your bio on the podcast and YouTube channels, and people can connect with you. And my final question to you, it's any final thoughts or messages that you would like to share with the audience today, Veronica?
And a final thoughts. One thought that has come to me from the beginning was just a little, it's very short, but it says it's all doable. Because sometimes I have people coming to me, um, women also actually several men, and often it's that kind of place where they feel they can't do it. They got to a situation where they can't do it, and they feel maybe it's not the right thing for them. Maybe they need to change and go to a different business, or maybe business is not for them, or they just feel like there's not solution, they can't see the solution. So maybe the final point that it's always doable, and always once you start talking to someone, or even often when people just have an like explanatory call, um, just having the person outside of you, and you know that as a hypnotherapist, just having the person outside of you who ask you question, who is there to support, who is there to hold space, who also has a knowledge and expertise and experience, that just that just opens options that we just did not see ourselves. And I think that's the whole point of coaching or any support that is available, and that yeah, I'm really pleased that we able to help, we able to provide and support with.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And Veronika, we are coming to the end of this podcast, and I can't believe how the time flew. It went so fast. I would like to say a huge thank you to you for taking your time to be here to talk to the audience. And I would like to wish you a lot of success moving forward. And also would like to tell the audience that you are amazing. You have always been amazing, and you always will be amazing. So thank you everybody for watching, sharing, and subscribing. And please continue to follow the podcast and the channels. And thank you for those who've been watching for the past 4 years. And if anybody is new, please remember to let as many people know, and to like and share and subscribe. So thank you everyone, and we'll see you all very soon for another episode. Take care. Bye bye.